Good day, my SM viewers. This is Satellite Media. If you are new to the channel, kindly like, share, subscribe, and please do not forget to hit the notification bell. Let us quickly look at these developments. This one coming from the United States of America concerning the Nigerian president, talking about Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu. He's saying, I'm reading from the Punch, he's saying U.S. court orders FBI, DEA to release Tinubu's probe record. You go further to say that United States District Court in Colombia has ordered the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Drug Enforcement Administration to release records relating to the criminal investigation of President Bola Tinubu over alleged drug trafficking. You go further to say that Judge Beryl Howell, in a ruling dated April 8, which can be found on the court website, directed both agencies to search for and process non-exempt records tied to Freedom of Information Act. Request filed by American researcher Aaron Greenspan. Okay, and as we have it, the presidential media aide have since responded. Let me bring the response before we go further into this conversation. And this one is from Daily Post. He said, nothing new to reveal. Presidency reacts to U.S. court order Tinubu's records. You go further to say that the presidency on Sunday reacted to the United States U.S. District Court of Colombia ordering the Federal Bureau of Intelligence, FBI, to review President Bola Tinubu's information. You went further to say that Tinubu's spokesman, Bayo Onanuga, said there was nothing new to reveal about the case. Onanuga said reports by Agent Moss of the FBI and the DEA have been in the public space for more than 30 years. At this point, let me say that during in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election, we understand that the likes of Atiku Abubakar, the then presidential candidate of PDP, and some other Nigerians were in the forefront of trying to make FBI to have that record concerning the president. And we understand that the president then, who was the then candidate of All Progressive Congress, APC, in the election, used legal means to block every attempt to have those records. But the question here is, if just like the presidential spokesman has claimed, talking about Bayo Onanuga, that the information that the court is talking about happened in the public space for more than 30 years. So one begin to wonder why actually was the presidency, or rather the Tinubu, who was then the candidate of All Progressive Grand Alliance, sorry, All Progressive Congress, that's APC, using legal means to block the release of those documents. But the way it is, we understand that actually we are looking at 2027 presidential election. That may inform the reason we are seeing renewed efforts from stakeholders, though even if the person involved in this is an American person, but that may not mean that he is not working in collaboration with perhaps some stakeholders in Nigeria. But the point is, if actually the records were in the public domain, why was it necessary for the then candidate of APC, talking about President Bola Tinubu, using legal means to frustrate the release of those documents? But as we have it, I think in the coming days, we are likely going to see those information in the public space. That is if the president did not perhaps instruct his legal team maybe to file an appeal, or rather to use a legal means to still further deny the public of that record. But as we have it, I think the public will be awaiting to see what is contained in the record. Because before now, there were so many speculation about what could be contained in that record. And some persons have even speculated that if Nigerians were privy to that record by way of having certified true copy of that record from relevant authorities in America, that it was enough perhaps to send to INEC and other agencies of Nigerian government, perhaps to stop the president from contesting the election then. But the way it is not on record that the president was actually indicted until the record is, until those information is made available to the public. That is when anybody can actually determine whether they are indicting or not. But however I look at it, I think Nigerians, the public, are actually interested in having a glimpse of that record to know what is actually contained in it. Because the issue of Nigerian electoral process and election in Nigeria have been a major issue that we have not been able to address back home here in Nigeria. And yesterday, we were discussing about the issue that has to do with our electoral process, how we can deepen the democracy, how can amend some relevant sections of the Electoral Act to engender free, fair, and credible election. Of course, we understand that in the last election of 2023, most Nigerians and many stakeholders in Nigeria were dissatisfied with the process of the election, particularly the area that has to do with collation of results. Many Nigerians were not comfortable and were not happy with the way and manner the results were collated, because before the election, INEC actually told us that they were going to collate election results electronically, having been given that power of discretion by the Constitution, or rather the Electoral Act. But surprisingly, at the nick of time, during the collation, INEC reneged, and they gave excuse of network glitch. As we have it, when President Bola Tinubu was declared winner and Certificate of Return given to him, sworn in as the president, the likes of Atiku Abubakar and People's Democratic Party, the likes of P2B and Labour Party challenged that election result up to Supreme Court. Though the Supreme Court has since legitimized that election by upholding Tinubu's election as going by the result declared by INEC, but Nigerians are not still satisfied with the current status quo of the Electoral Act, a situation where the INEC is given the liberty, the discretionary power to determine the mode of transmission of election results. And Nigerians are of the view that there should be further amendment to that act, particularly the area that deals with transmission of election results. I think it has to do with the section 82 that talks about how election results can be collated. We understand that INEC actually collated that election result manually, and that has always been the tradition before that Electoral Act was amended. But in my own considered opinion, that section should be amended in such a way that INEC should not parade any discretionary power. That power of discretion should be taken away from INEC, and let us have some specifics that compels INEC that you must transmit election results electronically. And anything short of that should render the election null and void. Of course, any area election results are not transmitted electronically, results from such area should be rendered null and void. For me, that is the best way to engender free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria. Because before you can have free, fair, and credible election in Nigeria, you must reduce human interference. And the best way to reduce human interference is to amend the Electoral Act, to reduce the areas of human involvement in the process of collation. We understand that when the collation starts, it starts from the polling unit level, where the election result is after counting and winner declared at the level of the polling unit. Result is entered into from EC8A, from where we understand that it was also supposed to be sent to the INEC portal, where all the stakeholders, whether INEC staffs, whether Nigerians, whether international or foreign observers, political parties, can have access to and monitor the result as it's coming in. You can even have your own situation room and collate the result alongside what INEC is doing. And at the end of the day, it's supposed to tally, because if all the results are coming in from the polling unit into the IRF, everybody collecting results from different situation room are supposed to arrive at the same result, because from the same source. But unfortunately, that didn't work in 2023. And unfortunately too, the likes of Atiku Abubakar, the likes of P2B, the likes of Kwankwaso are not doing enough, in my own considered opinion, in trying to push for further amendment of that Electoral Act. Because for me, That is a game changer. It doesn't matter the level of coalition you have, whether you form, you come under SDP, you bring all the oppositions together. If the election is not fair, if the election is not free, fair, and credible, all effort of bringing opposition together will be a waste. Let me say very big thank you for your time. This is Satellite Media and I'm Mr. Watch.